Welcome to State Champions Podcast, where we discuss people, politics, community, and culture. On tonight's State Champions Podcast, you know me and Coach Ward, we can discuss basketball, we can discuss football, we can discuss a lot of things. But tonight, in the midsummer classic of our podcast, we're discussing the presidency, the 2024 election. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a great show. We ain't been down here in a minute, but it's time for us to discuss this show, discuss what's going on in the community, in the country, in terms of the 2024 presidential election. Make sure you call somebody, tell a friend, let them know what's going down tonight. We're going to put a lot of questions up to see what your thoughts are, who you're going to vote for in this election. I see a lot of people are talking about the new potential nominee, because she hasn't got the nominee yet, right. VP Harris. Yep. But tonight, I think it's time to let the people know that the reason why we're here tonight is to let everybody know that you and I are throwing our hats in the ring. So this is our flyer for the show, and me and can be the Democratic nominees. At this rate, it could have been anybody. Based upon what has happened in this race and what's going on, I tell you, the tomfoolery that's going on, it is crazy to me. I want to know how many people out there would vote for me and if it was if we called them and they said that y'all got a good shot as anybody else. No. How many people would vote for us? You think we'll get G?
Especially if you think about it, we'd have got going. A few months back.
Okay, go ahead. A few months back, but go ahead.
Garnered a little momentum.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now, we got a good shot as anybody. It might go 33.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we'll go independent, because I'm not attaching myself to any of these parties or nothing. So we'll go independent. 33 probably. I think we'll get 34.
All right, G. So you thinking that we'll get a little action?
If they know it's good for them.
Okay.
Especially when you consider our competition.
So, what's the number they can call in tonight to talk on the show, leave a comment, do everything? What's that number, G?
And 313-458-4445.
Make sure this is all connected. 313-458-4445.
4445.
Okay, 4445.
Nice man Gervin for DC, 4445. Your man Mike when he came back the last time.
Yeah. And 45 is, Donald Trump too.
I know.
Donald Trump.
Band-Aid man.
Yeah, Band-Aid man, It happened. So man, I'm gonna tell you, man, we gonna keep this thing going,
right,
and look at it from a lens and just have some real great dialogue. Right now, we're gonna drop that intro.
The champ is here. 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 The champ is here.
So you watching on State Champions Podcast, Mid-Summer Classic. You're looking at the Democratic nominees. Whether you be president, I'll be vice president, or vice versa, don't make me a difference. We need somebody on this ticket that can win. So let me ask you this, G. Before we get started, make sure y'all follow us, like us on IG, TikTok, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Yeah. Make sure they do all that. Tell them, G, where would you like the people to follow us the most?
You know what? YouTube. IG, obviously, and TikTok. Either one. But hit the like buttons, man. Subscribe. This is different than any other podcast. Y'all know it. We see what's happening. We for the people, of the people. We're trying to educate our people through entertainment and everything. And also we talk about sports. So we'd like to call it edutainment a little bit down.
Look, edutainment. All right, we're going to get right to it. We're going to ask a couple of questions to the people. Right off the back, and I'm going to ask you the question, G. Here's the first question. Do you think that the Democrats botched the election by waiting too long to force Joe Biden out, President Biden? And did they take too long? Did they make up this stuff about his mental health condition? Do you think they botched it?
Yeah, you know what? They botched it in a
Okay.
bad way. When I say they fumbled in a major way. But I think they strategically, and they thought they were doing themselves some justice.
Okay.
I think strategically they were thinking like, okay, we're going to find the right time to do this. Because everybody had to know the inevitability of this thing.
Right.
So they dropped the ball in a major way. The crazy part about it is right now, I think the only thing they could have done is doing what they're doing now. A lot of money has been raised for Vice President Harris.
Okay.
And, hopefully this momentum is going to hit good where they give themselves a chance. Right now, preliminarily, they don't stand a chance in hell. But
Okay.
I believe they sat in the rooms and they really, put their heads together and really thought about what's the best way to do it because they knew they had to do it. And maybe if this thing even gets close, they can say they did a great job.
Well, I want to say this, G, because I definitely want to talk about this. And so what people are hearing and talking about now, they're talking about they forced Joe Biden out, but I'm telling you, G, people got to stay off of this mainstream TV.
Yeah.
Mainstream, all this social media stuff that's not giving accurate information.
Indeed.
So when you watch CNN and you look at Fox and all CNB, all this stuff, I promise you, back in February, this is a true story. I read an article pertaining to President Biden at the time that the Democrats, high-ranking officials, now they did not want to be identified, so they did it anonymously.
Yep.
And what they said was that Joe Biden couldn't win the election. That was back in February, and they were supposed to force him out in May. Now, here's my issue with that.
Yes.
You waited so long, you got basically 90 days until the actual election. Your actual convention is August 19th in Chi-Town. And so you waited all of this time. My big issue with the Democratic Party and what they did to their constituents and to their voter base, you misled them for a long time.
Into believing
that he could win the election. I'm going to tell you some other information. At that time, they went to none other than Michelle Obama and asked her, would she take the position? She said, absolutely not. So they, in turn, the next three people were former governor of Michigan, Granholm, current governor, Whitmer, and then they asked a guy out of California, which is Gavin Newsom. And so these were their top four choices. So now the Democratic Party wants me and the constituents and everybody else who's been a Democrat for many, many years to rally around them and believe that Kamala Harris can win the race. I am not so sure, but that's not my big issue. It's the disorganization that I've witnessed. And I'm thinking it's no way possible that I can actually get on board with this concept. And I'm looking at what I'm looking at and I'm saying, this is not right. But go ahead, G, I know you got something to add.
Do you believe that they really thought, see, I don't think they really believe that Donald Trump would really legitimately have another shot. I think they kind of thought in their mind like, oh yeah, we kind of got this in the bag. The way they handled it,
absolutely,
it was almost as if they had a 30-point lead.
Yep.
And you start subbing guys in, and next thing you know, you're like, oh hell, we only got a 12-point lead.
Yes.
Now this thing is getting bad. And I think they panicked. And I understand how. And the mishandling of this, it really shows, as you said, Rav, the lack of organization.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the lack of thinking ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
When you think about, everybody every year, so hey, Rav, how many seniors you got? How many juniors you got? And I remember you would say, man, I got a freshman coming, man. And
Yep.
you're like, man, you got a solid team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you think in order for this thing to sustain itself, you getting guys ready. I don't think we got anybody ready. Well, I'm gonna say I don't think the Democrats got anybody ready, and it's showing right now. And it showed in their rash coming out and say, "Hey, could you run for president now? Because we got to do something." And I think it's showing.
So anybody
Yep.
that's has any type of a thought process, anything besides just listening to what your mother, your auntie,
Yep.
grandmother told you, you have to look. Yeah, you have to look and recognize that this is not going so well. And how do I continue to roll with this group in terms of their organization? I promise you, Kamala Harris is the fifth string quarterback
Yep.
in the game.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna ask you, G, if somebody told you, G, it's a sure bet to bet on the Washington Redskins,
Yep.
which has changed their name to the
Commanders.
And the fifth string quarterback is starting, would you bet your money?
No, I don't even care if they get 25 points. They could be plus 25 and a half.
So,
No.
and I'm looking at this, and it's really disappointing from my lens, just because, and I'm going to go back to the elders that I talked to in some cases and was taught by over the years. I'm really disappointed in the strategy and the lack of real vision,
Foresight
for the Democratic Party. Me, years ago, I had a conversation with a few people, and I said this many years ago. I said the Democratic Party is in shambles because
Yep.
they do not, and I repeat, they do not have anybody young coming through the channels that they can tie their hands around and hug them and nurture them and get them going. And see, here's what Donald Trump did, because I thought he was going with somebody else,
Yeah.
but he went with the boy J.D. Vance because he's young.
Ain't no
But if
way.
you remember, when they had a little thing, I forget what it was on, and they had the young white girl out of, I think she's out of Alabama, young. So what they're doing, they're starting to set up their party for these younger people, because
Absolutely.
obviously Donald Trump, he's not coming back. He can't do another 4 years after this term if he wins this election.
Probably ain't gonna finish this for.
Yeah, but so in this case, look how they're strategizing early. And I'm so tired of the Democratic Party and their leadership and their lack of organization. It pisses me off so bad, because our people, when I say our people, typically black folk, we really love the party, and they don't have to do anything for us.
Nope.
And then they come to us when it's time for election.
and say,
And
hey,
sure enough, we say we gonna hug them. So
Yep.
now they jumping in the bed and they say, well, with Kamala, we got to do some great things, and we gonna get her in there because she's a sister. I just don't believe in voting in people just because of their color.
Mhm.
I believe in voting you in because you had the knowledge and the skill set. I'm not saying she don't have it, but I'm just telling you, based upon what we need right now in this country, I believe we need somebody else. We have, hold on, who is this? Let me see. Looks like, I think if they would have continued to push Newsom much earlier, he would have had a chance. Okay, she said, okay, that's LaTanya Askew. She said they would have had a better chance if they had pushed Newsom, probably. So you might be right about that, because Tanya, to your point, let me add this, and I know G will piggyback and add to it as well. When you look at how America is really set up, do you think that the country, it's another question, G, I might need to type this on here. Do you think that this country is ready for a minority? Oh, no, just not just a minority, a woman to be president at this time? Do you think they're ready?
Well, let me say this. It's funny because we talked about, and everything that you said thus far, you really predicted it.
I want to say this because LaTanya just added something too.
Who?
Askew. She said Democrats were on autopilot because Trump had those charges. Big mistake. Hey, absolutely right, LaTanya. On that one, you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Tanya is A1, and she's a Cali girl. And I'm gonna tell you something now.
Okay.
That's what I was just gonna allude to. The comfortability of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
They got so lax and they got so chilled, and people don't like to talk about it, but people been working, people been getting jobs again. So Biden been looking good,
looking great.
And what you noticed is he did very few public appearances where he had to speak. And so, with that being said, they knew it was something going on, and yet they still didn't get anybody prepared. But to go back to your question, I do not. Well, it's twofold.
Okay.
I know this country is not going to have another black male president for a while.
Okay.
If there is going to be a minority, it will be a black woman.
Okay.
I will say this: it won't be a black man, and it will not be a white woman.
Oh, for sure, it won't be a white woman. We saw that.
They're not going to have a white woman. So I believe you look at the last 72 hours or so, and every time you look on the news, anything you see on social media, man, the sisters have jumped behind this thing, and we've jumped behind Vice President Harris, and we with her, and some people are like we're not, and all that. But regardless of what, the conversation is taking place.
Well, I'll tell you this. I remember this very, very same strategy, and they had a longer time as with Hillary Clinton. But I kept saying at that time, I don't care what nobody's saying.
Yes.
You and I talked about this many times. I said it wasn't going to happen, not in America. And so, to Tanya's point, when the Democrats went on autopilot, not just in this election, in previous elections, they do it all the time with us. But you said something, G. And so when I look at, you said something about how they're looking at this whole thing and how the Democrats, they lied along the way. So here's my question. Another question. This is a thought, and I want the people to think about this. If Joe Biden is not mentally stable to run and be president for the next 4 years, how is he mentally stable for the next 5 months? Who's going to be running the country? People don't think about these. Look, I got another one for you. So then the Democrats always talk about true democracy and voting and doing the things the right way. Well, then how are they just automatically throwing Kamala Harris in the seat without a democratic process being in place? Because you probably have about 14 million Democrats in the country, if not more.
More.
That I think they voted in the primary. That may have said they voted for Joe Biden.
But I ain't necessarily want to vote for her.
They may not have wanted to vote for her. So I look at those things, and those are questions I started to ask myself. I was like, how did they do that? Did they do some things and just magically snap their fingers? What happened to the process? And I know they got to rush because of the convention, but still, you telling me because time is short, we should break the democratic process and break the law? I'm just asking.
Well, I don't view it as breaking the law. I think they were strategic, as unorganized as it appears. They were strategic in what they were doing after a while, and and I think
no way. But go ahead.
I think they thought about it for a minute. They said, "Man, you know what? We got to ride with Joe." I think Joe had some stubbornness. President Biden had some stubbornness to him, and I think that. And it's kind of funny because the very area in which Donald Trump is just awful at, especially, is the whole debate thing. And
you think Donald Trump awful at the debate?
Because he's not even talking about politics, really. He says some things to get people. He tries to divert your attention, and he says some things that really. And again, I think after it's all said and done, I think most of us, really, especially fathers, are conservatives.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no question about it. I'm a conservative, so I don't know what anybody think about that, but I'm a conservative. So certain things I don't want to see, certain things I don't want my daughter exposed to or my children or grandchildren. But I think Biden, at that time during that debate, President Biden, I think after the first 5 minutes, if this was a basketball game, the first 3 minutes of the game, they said, "Oh my goodness, we're about to get killed." And that's when they started counting. And that's when you saw the rush. I think you saw the hastiness amongst the party and the panic. So it was very unorganized. And I think they were just prayerful that something happened positive, or at least President Biden at least kept the debate where it was neutral and they can move forward. After that debacle, they say, "Hey, dog, you got to go."
Here's what the thing. This is why this is sad, because they knew prior to that debate that he was going to struggle. So for me,
They didn't know what level of struggle. You're absolutely right.
they knew he was going to struggle. See, G, when you're watching this man, he, in my opinion, he has Alzheimer's for sure.
He definitely has onset dementia.
Yeah, and so when we look at this, and it's not early, it's in the middle to high stages, in my
No
opinion.
question.
So I'm telling you, before the debate, I was telling Lisa, I said, I can't wait. It was like Thursday night football for me.
Yeah.
I was like, Thursday is coming.
Did you grill something?
No, I ain't grill that day.
Grill
I
that?
didn't grill that day. But I kept on saying to her, I said, listen to me. He is going to fumble this so bad, it's not going to be real. And sure enough, the next day after he fumbled, they started talking about forcing him out the next day. But here's my problem.
night.
I know, but you got to remember,
Yes.
I read about that back in February. Do you realize that the Democratic Party absolutely knew prior to then? I'm willing to bet you. I heard something earlier today or yesterday that they said it goes back into 2023. They said he couldn't win. So again, my question to the Democratic base, the people that really love the Democratic Party, how then do you accept somebody lying to you, misleading you, and taking you for granted? That's a question.
Yeah.
That's a question. How does that happen?
Well, I think it's done in politics all the time. I think this is a different level because it is the presidency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different level. And they've always tried to trick us, but I don't think they ever thought this would come to a head.
But how? They couldn't. It was when you watching it, they would say to you, "Oh, when he froze, no, he was looking at somebody, or he was talking to somebody."
You can't say the person that we have in charge is an imbecile, or he can't do the job. You can't say that. So in their minds, they kept the game rolling. And again, every time they came up with a charge for Band-Aid Man, every time they came with a charge, everybody was like, okay. See, it gave the Democratic Party, LaTanya said it, put him on autopilot even more. Oh, they're going to, he's got another felony and all that.
Surprise.
Yeah, ain't no question.
And so, but see,
they didn't prepare themselves for the worst. And I think that's the one thing.
No, that's my biggest problem. Yeah. So, all right, so we're going to say they're not going to call you and I for the Democratic nod, okay? We're going to say that. You want to go on record and say that?
No, I don't know. I'm still my phone just rang. It was from DC.
Okay, so we'll keep that option.
Can't answer right now. As soon as the podcast over.
Yeah, from DC we can't answer. So let me ask you this: is it okay for us to examine Kamala Harris's record while she was? We talking about the DA of California and some things that she did, and I had a little fun debate.
Specifically to black men.
Yeah, to black men, colored men, because there's a lot of Hispanics out there, and I had a little fun on Facebook, and I tell people, they don't realize sometimes I just be wanting to say a little something and see how people respond, because I just want people to think. And so I mentioned how while she was in California, she was that DA, how and we talking about, obviously she was a DA, she got to convict people. I get that. Mm-hmm. But when you convict a person, just say George was convicted of, and we'll just say malicious destruction of property.
There you go.
And then you have to come in, because once upon a time I was a probation officer. Everybody may not know that. Mm-hmm. And so person comes in, George has to drop and gives his urine, and he was smoking a little bit of weed, a little reefer. You understand? So then instead of sending you to treatment, I send you back to prison. These are some of the things that Kamala Harris was doing out there in California. Definitely. And my problem with that, not that she was doing her job, because the way she talked about the use of marijuana and how you smoke marijuana. Yeah, of course I'm Jamaican. And she went into that. Yes, well, my thing, I would think that you would be a lot more lenient on your brothers that you smoked a little weed once upon a time. Yeah. So things like that, I just don't like. And I'm just not going to hop into bed with her just because she the sister. I want to see a little bit more. I want to know a couple more things. And also out there, and I got to tell you this story too, G. So just imagine, and this, people go check your records and go do your own research. Somebody told me they debunked all that stuff out there. It's common knowledge out there. It's not like it was made up. But say me, you and I was hanging out,
Mhm.
and you dropped me off one night. No, I dropped you off, and then I ended up dead.
Yep.
Okay. I can tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure. Who's not going to say that you killed me?
Yep.
Is the OG.
Juanita Peters.
Well, at that time when she was DA, they convicted a brother
Yep.
as close as you and I.
Yep.
When the mother of the deceased
Said, no way.
absolutely not. And
Didn't do it.
you got an alibi, and they don't have any real evidence except that we was the last two together. Well, Kamala VP Harris at that time convicted my man and sent him to prison.
Sure did.
And then the Innocence Project come through
Oh my God.
8 years later and showed the evidence, and she would not, and
Yep.
she would not
To save her. Yep.
her record and her saved face. She would not release the brother based upon the information that's presented. See, it's okay, G, to walk into a room and then walk into a door and you admit that you're wrong versus staying in that room for the rest of your life. I don't like things like that. And I just don't see how a lot of people don't see the big picture. And will she do things that are really, and I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
And when I say me, I mean black men.
Yes.
Because we've been kind of pushed to the side a lot, and they talk about families, but you're talking about men, I mean women and children, but you never mention the black men in particular.
question.
Go ahead, G.
I think what people are not going to look at this thing through this lens.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that this could be an election for the ages, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
This could bring an even bigger divide, not between blacks and whites.
No, between families.
This will bring an even larger divide between families.
What you talking? No,
Let me tell you something.
listen. Oh man,
I'm gonna tell you something right now. The black man, I think, subconsciously, some of us, damn near don't want her to win.
Okay.
Now,
Wow. Okay. Give me the why is the subconscious. That means you on autopilot. And you saying you don't want her to win because of
because as you look at it right now, you just said, they kind of pushed the man to the side.
The brothers.
And this has not been done by an accident.
No, sir.
So as we're looking at this thing in totality, if she wins, what is it really suggesting? So when we said that
suggestion for who? You talking about for black families?
The message that it would send. And as I'm listening to the undertones, now, I'm listening to the undertones.
What you talking about?
Of our sisters, and it's like,
it's some brothers. It's the undertone.
And it's the crazy thing about it, where I've kind of mentioned to some people some of the things and some of the stances, so to speak, in her history. It's almost as if they're saying, so damn what? We're going to get this sister in here. And I think what it would suggest if this sister took the highest seat in the land.
Yeah. It's bad.
We can forget it.
Listen.
And so the crazy thing about it is, and I got to say this.
Go ahead.
As we look at our families in totality,
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to a lot in the work that we do, Rav. I've spoken to a lot of adult women who have adult or borderline adult children.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them that did not have that strong male influence in the home are having a rough time with their children.
Oh, for sure. Oh, no.
And now listen to me, having a rough time with their children. And guess what? Every day they do like Vice President Harris has done. They're going to save face. So for the public, it's going to look as if, hey, there's nothing wrong because we mask things with our money sometimes. And I get it. I understand that. And Lord knows I'm not bashing women. But what I'm telling you is this. This election, this is major. And how we respond to this as people, we could galvanize this thing and become one, or this could be one of the greatest divides that we've seen in ages. Because this could be the largest continuum of what's already been going on.
Dang. I'm going to tell you, G, you might have hit the nail on the head with that one because it's going to continue And the way I look at it, the nuclear family, not what they're putting together as
Yeah.
this common family,
Don't
but the
say that.
nuclear family, male, female,
The real.
and then kids and stuff like that, things of that nature. So it's just interesting to see. And here's another thing I worry about.
Mhm.
Not only do I worry about that in terms of, for me personally and for brothers
Mhm.
and of all colors, but I think this too. Will she be able to handle the big people in the other countries in terms of, we'll just say Russia? We'll just say, will she be able to handle and manage this Ukraine war? Will she be able to handle that? Will she be able to go talk to Putin and say, Putin, we need to stop this? So again, your man always doing research. I told y'all I'm changing my name this fall. It will no longer be Parlay Pete. It will be Research Ralph.
Yeah,
So
research rap.
Research Ralph is going to change, because you look at different stations overseas and they are saying the only somebody that can neutralize this Russian-Ukraine war is Donald Trump. And they talked about this, and they saying that if he got in, he could do some different things, and he could actually help out in the Gaza Strip as well. And I wonder, does Kamala Harris have that charisma in relationship? Because now here's what we got to look at, people, the big picture. This is not me talking. This is how the world, and we know things have changed, but those presidents and leaders in those other countries really don't respect women.
Oh, man.
Yikes. See, we got to look at this as a bigger picture. They really don't respect women, and we will not be able to force them to respect VP Harris.
No.
So then when she goes to talk to Putin or my man from Ukraine or whatever it is, they looking at her like,
man, if you don't get your behind,
if you don't go back to the United States, you're not going to be able to tell me nothing. So I wonder about that, because people don't want to talk about this. We are on the verge of World War III. See, anytime you have Putin and my man from North Korea sitting down talking, oh, you better be worried now. You better be worried. And everybody's not looking at all of these factors. They're getting this emotion involved. You got to look at the bigger picture, not down on the ground. Yeah. Go ahead, G.
No, that's exactly what we're saying. So we can't look at this thing emotionally. We got to look at this thing long term.
Oh, for sure. And so
how is this going to impact us
long term?
As a country, as a people, everything. So it's going to be tough.
So somebody said to me on Facebook today, because, again, I just be having when I do get on there, let's be clear, I don't get on all the time. And they was talking about former President Trump's record during his term. And they said, the economy was bad and that the unemployment rate was at an all-time high, whatever it was. And I didn't check the facts, but I said, okay, I think some of those statements were true. But I added in there, I said, do you realize it was a major factor in there, which was called the pandemic? And so I think anybody at that time would have had a low rating. Well, nobody was working. It was not a issue just in the U.S. It was globally. So then I can see the economy being bad. I can see unemployment rate being high because nobody was working. We couldn't go outside. So when I look at those things, and then I was just going back and forth with him a little bit, and I said, well, I just think for what he did at the time, he did a pretty good job. I don't think anybody could have weathered that storm in terms of this pandemic. Absolutely. Where everybody was at home. What's your thoughts on that, G?
Well, I'll tell you what, from that standpoint, he did an admirable job. And I love the push that, the social programs, some of the things that he did, putting money into certain areas that would help inner cities and things of that nature. I got to applaud him on that. One of the biggest things that we keep looking at, though, as far as the Democrats go, at least this current administration, and even before when you had 44 in there, some of the rulings that they've made that as it relates to the families itself. So I know a lot of people are questioning that. A lot of people have they need some real answers right now.
Oh, well, hold on. Well, I'm glad you said that, because what you're talking about is looking at agendas, and I don't know if you people can see this on your screen. It's not that it's kind of big. What I put up on the screen, G, is vote for ideas. I had this conversation with a lot of people, and the ideas, Democrat, Republican, and it lists different things that the Democrats do and what they're for and what they're against. I'm gonna read a few things. So Democrats they got the war on oil. So they believe in what? Not doing the drilling and all of this, clean energy, so on and so forth. And the Republicans, in that case, energy independence, because they believe that we should dig in our own country and not be relying on some foreign company oil, where we could do certain things here. They say the Democrats are easy on crime, where the Republicans are fair, tough on crime. Defunding the police is a Democratic motto, and Republicans believe in law and order. And then also you have, school indoctrination. That's the Democrats.
Talk about it.
And parent rights. So a lot of people may not know this. You have a thing called the Parent Bill of Rights. And the Parent Bill of Rights basically says that certain things happen with your child at school. The parent is entitled to know.
Yes.
Well, under the current administration, if something happens at school and related to, we'll just say, sexual identity, the Democrats have put in place that a teacher cannot inform the parent that their son or daughter has been identified and changed their name for the day or the week or whatever it is, and they don't tell the parent. And I said, wait a minute. I remember when I was little, G, and when one of my brothers said, don't tell mama.
That meant what?
It was all bad.
Bad.
It was all bad. So when I look at those things, G, I said, wait a minute.
So how old does this young person, this student? So are we talking about strictly high school people? Right?
No. No, if I read it correctly, they go as low as 12. It may be younger than that, but either way, it's not high school. It's middle school.
So
for
I
sure.
could come in
as a kid.
I could come in at Cerveny Middle School, walk around Big D, and I can go to the class and say, you know what, man?
You're not George no
I ain't
more.
George no more.
You're Georgina.
I'm Georgina. And Miss Ty, or Miss Lot, would be held to by the law.
By the law.
They could not call my mother and say, hey, George just told us to call him Georgina. And he want to go, he say he's going to become a young lady.
And he going to go in the girls.
They go in the girls' restroom.
Not only that, G, they also tie federal funding to that. Yeah. So then now I'm holding you hostage. To me, that sounds like a dictatorship. Because if I hold your money,
what you mean?
Based upon if you say something, I'm dictating what you can say. But they ushered it in as everybody has rights and you have to have a safe haven for kids. Of course we want safe haven for kids.
Yeah. But what does that really mean?
What does that really mean?
And I'll say this, really, what has been done very strategically. That's why we got to educate ourselves.
Absolutely.
And again, we're going to have a different show at some point talking about this thing. We have to become independent thinkers. We cannot continue to allow somebody to dictate. We've been dictated a lot of things. We can't continue. Now we getting social media. You got all this internet, and guess what, ladies? We learning. We getting educated. How we continue to allow somebody to dictate to us what's going on? So they say that, and what's the name of that bill, Raph? I want you to say.
So that's the Parents' Bill of Rights.
Stop.
Yeah.
Now I want you to stop right there.
Okay.
Y'all, they can cut us off the show right now.
And I'm
serious, man.
I don't want them to cut us off.
You said parental bill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
Do you realize how strategic and how tricky that is?
Oh, what you talking?
Because it makes it sound as if
yes, sir,
it's something beneficial to the parents. Well, really what they're doing is stripping the parents butt naked in Central Park. Now, you have, and this has been done strategically, y'all, and y'all really got to pay attention to this. And I know y'all not. Listen, when y'all people come home from TV tonight and they come from Shane Park.
Yeah, from Shane Park.
Listen to me.
Dancing.
When they get home from Shane Park, tell them to watch the show. Go on YouTube, IG, TikTok. Tomorrow morning, watch the show. Because check this out. This is what they've done. They've empowered our children and stripped the power from the parents. And what else have they done, G Ward? They removed power from the man and gave it to the woman. So I want you to think about this and watch how this thing has been strategically done. And as we look at the chaos amongst our families,
yes,
and our communities,
yes,
do you not believe that all of this has been done by design?
Oh, it's all bad. So it's funny, G, because I titled this: the 2024 presidential election has divided families, communities, and the country. And why? But this is really, really touchy. And so think about this, G. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna keep going because I'm not gonna be just biased. I know everybody's been talking about. Let me find this other thing that I need to put up here. Hold on, people. I don't want people to think I'm being biased or nothing. But we're gonna hide that. And then they talk about Project 2025. Uh-huh. Now, it's a lot of things in this Project 2025 that I don't agree with. Absolutely.
There you go.
But here's what I don't like about how people take and run with things. Now, Donald Trump said he don't know anything about Project 2025. I don't believe that,
yeah,
of course. But you said that sometimes, they'll lie in your face.
Yeah.
But does this mean that this Project 2025, that Trump is going to implement everything? And it's like a 900-page document. It's crazy, insane.
Nuts.
I don't think that everything's going to be implemented. I don't know if he's going to implement some of the things, but if he does, some things need to be reversed. And so a couple of things, and I just want to talk about it. Uh-huh. And so let me just read a couple of things off of Project 2025. If I can read it, man, G, I need your glasses, man. Good God Almighty, man. Listen, and it's good God Almighty.
Man, sitting up here in denial.
Listen, man.
I don't know what cuz on.
No, it ain't down in denial.
No, cuz. Do you have glasses?
Yeah, I got some.
No, where they at? No, and hey, everybody. Remember, he just talked early. He's like, yeah, man, like close as me and you are. Guess what, people? I've never, but I don't have to. I see you with safety glasses.
No, I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
I got real glasses, man.
Man, I ain't never seen them. Man, go get them, man.
Now, I'm telling you, dude.
Tell Juno to go get the glasses.
So listen. So here go Project 2025. That's a couple of things. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna read them just because I want to be fair. They said he's gonna cut Social Security. I tell you what, people, it's not him that's cutting Social Security. They've been gonna cut Social Security because it's not gonna be nothing left for us. That's one of the things. He's gonna eliminate unions and workers' protections. I think they've already done it in most states, except for Michigan, but we still a right to work state. So I get those things because obviously unions are good in some cases they're bad.
Not nearly as powerful as they were.
And not nearly as powerful. They're going to end civil rights and DEI protections in government. They've already started doing that. I don't think it's going to be just him. I think these are things that's just that side of the fence, the red side decides that they're going to change some things. And is it right? No. They said they're going to defund the FBI and Homeland Security, use the military to break up domestic protests. Well, I'll say this. They've been using military to break up domestic protests. It's nothing new. End marriage equality, promote and expedite capital punishment. It says ban Muslims from entering the country, eliminate federal agencies like the FDA, APA, so on and so forth. Continue to pack the Supreme Court with lower courts and right-wing judges. So here's the thing, and I'm going to just talk about the right-wing judges and those people. Well, the problem is this. If you do what you're supposed to do, Democrats can determine who they would put in there. But because you fumbled the bag and taking people for granted and going on autopilot, as LaTanya said, you may not be in position to put somebody on that Supreme Court. So
now it gets tricky.
I'm worried about the leadership. But don't be mad at somebody else that they did their homework and they passed the class and you didn't do what you're supposed to do. whether they cheated or not. You might need to do a little cheating. But they passed the test. But to the point, seriously, about that, when I look at those things with those judges and they putting on the Supreme Court, they're conservative.
Yeah.
And so people want progressive ideas and views on there. And I'm with you, G. I would say this. I'm sure I'm a conservative at heart because there's certain things I don't want to change.
No, yeah.
I do not. And I repeat, I do not want my daughter, and in the future, if I have a granddaughter, I do not want my granddaughter competing against a male, period.
And nothing
And nothing.
other than the spelling bee.
Listen, that's it. So, but a lot of people say, well, Donald Trump is he's taking women's rights away and they cannot control their bodies. Well, let me just say this. And he is diminishing women and so on and so forth. And I had a conversation with some young people today. So I said, young lady, I get what you're saying. But I said, let me give you another perspective. Anytime somebody can come in as a man and then he can become a woman and then become woman of the year, they're rolling the respect for women right back in your face, and you just don't realize because they just saying, they ushering it in as it's a good thing.
Yep.
And so the young lady kind of looked at me. I said, no, think about that. I said, how do you applaud and appreciate a man becoming a woman? He's been a woman less than a year, and he wins
Woman of the year.
Woman of the Year. That to me is disrespectful to a biological woman. I'm just telling you what I think.
Well, it's beyond disrespectful, but again, done by design.
Mm-hmm.
And so the agenda is taking place. But my thing is, for everything that we've had to say, the Democrats, they've just done a piss poor job.
Piss poor.
Especially from an organization standpoint. Are the flaws of Band-Aid Man, Donald Trump, are the flaws of the former president, are his flaws going to be illuminated to a point where this thing can get close, or are we looking at a landslide come November?
I'll tell you one thing, G, and I'm going to answer that question. I think, and I'm going to let me put my notes down here because I'm going to tell you in a second.
Asked the question.
Somebody just made a statement. They've been stripping parents down since the late 90s. When they started telling children they could not report their parents, they could report their parents for spanking them, yet they could paddle your child at school. That's none other than Talonda Westbrook. And think about it's all a game, man. And like you said, but nobody likes to be honest. Again, when somebody gives you the information that's factual and you don't accept it, that's called cognitive dissonance. People, please look it up. When you're faced with information that's true and you still don't want to believe it, cognitive dissonance. But we appreciate that comment, Talonda, and it's true. When you look at the big picture, they've been doing it for years, and they steady stripping the rights away from our parents. I want to know everything going on with my kid at school. Bottom line. So, but back to your question, I'm telling you, G, the election, in my opinion, if you talk to a few people that I know, family members, I've only been saying for the last 2 years, Donald Trump, I done told you too, Donald Trump going to win the election. They said I was crazy. I don't think it's going to be close. Right now, you have the fanfare. You got Kamala, even though she's not the nominee yet, folks, but
she will be.
It's the new shiny toy. So they pumping all the money into her. But never forget now, we're still in America. And I promise you, as far as I'm concerned, people of color are still marginalized, whether you LGBTQ or not. If you a person of color, you're marginalized, okay? So then, therefore, you have a group of people, because you got to think now, we're only about 12, 13% of the population. If every single one of the colored folk came out and vote, and every single one of the people on the other side voted,
landslide,
it won't be close. I cannot see.
But now,
the American people,
you are going to take into account,
okay,
the LGBTQ,
okay,
plus community, and that community is very.
It's not as big as everybody say.
No. It's not no question. Well, let me say this. It's large, and I think their influence oftentimes is definitely larger than the actual numbers. So,
Oh no, it's definitely larger than actual numbers, but it's not as big as somebody may proclaim. I just don't think it's going to be enough to tip them over the top. And I can promise you, the Republican side is going to come out with some other things. But I want to move forward because
Yep.
I want to talk about this in the way I think about things. And I've always talked about seeing things from a different lens. Mm-hmm. And when I'm talking about the Democrats and the Republicans,
yep,
you're talking about
red,
blue and red.
Red and blue.
Now, I don't know about you people.
We got some gangs to go with them colors too.
Listen, this is where I'm going. See, this is the problem that I have with our community. Mm-hmm. We have a gang mentality. So if I told people, y'all know what? I don't care what y'all tell me, I'm voting for Donald Trump. Yep. You know what would happen? People would be so angry at me, it is shameful.
Yep.
You're a traitor.
But why?
Because when you have this gang mentality, they have instilled into is either Democrat or Republican.
So you're saying we have been truly blindly voting Democrat.
We have been blindly voting Democrat for years, for many, many years,
yep,
with nothing that they had to come with an agenda for us. Okay. So when I look at that, but staying on task with the gang mentality, just think about it for a minute. Ask some people, I'm telling you, young and old. Mm-hmm. When Donald Trump, the attempted assassination happened, I was in.
Hold on, man. Wait a minute. Hey, folks, I'm going to leave the set right now.
What?
Man, there was no attempted assassination on his life, man.
So let me ask you something, Jeek. So I'm glad we can have this debate right here on the air.
Raph, wait a minute, man. Band-Aid Man nobody shot at Band-Aid Man. Now, we're not going to do that.
So who's the people that died? Who those other people that died then?
Hey, listen.
So I want you to be aware of this. You know they killed a president on national TV before. Now, let's be clear on this.
Ain't no question about it.
So then what makes you think, G, to get sympathy, he could have did anything because he was in the driver's seat? It makes no sense.
Well, it wasn't even about sympathy for him. I don't think he's a guy that's looking for sympathy. I think he's a guy that really needs his whole mantra is the superhero. And you know, his ego is out of control.
I'm not disputing his ego.
Yeah.
But you telling me they can't. Now I'm asking you because you said this. You really think that
he didn't?
You really think that somebody they faked this attempt on his life? So who's the person who died then?
Listen, I don't know. They didn't try to kill Donnie.
But again, let me ask you again. You haven't answered the question.
I'm not. I'm just telling you the answer the answer that I gotta have is in response to the assassination attempt. No one tried to kill Donald Trump that day. That didn't happen.
Do you realize? And I think this is crazy. I definitely understand. I promise you, in my opinion, it really does in terms of this. But I don't believe that a person is going. It's been a couple of people around the city that faked their death.
Yeah.
Nah, that's for a fact. We know that.
Yeah.
But in this case, you telling me that. So why did the head of the FBI, why did she resign then? See, it's too much of a fallout, G. Listen.
Yes, it's a whole lot to go
because through. So then that tells you it wasn't fake. Because somebody now is being held like, hold on, like you dumb son of a gun. I'm telling you.
How did you let,
How do you let these things happen? But I'll just tell you this, never forget, you can think of a better way than somebody faking that they tried to kill me. This makes no sense. No. He was in the driver's seat.
Well, it's a whole lot of things. That don't make sense with Don, with my man. So nobody tried to kill him, man. And
so you saying it was a fake? It wasn't an attempt on his life. No. Okay. All right. So do you know that for sure?
Mm-hmm. I'm 98% sure.
Okay. Yeah. See, so you sound like the people that's out here that's saying, well, you know what, man. I think that was all staged.
Well, pretty much. I don't know if it's staged or not. Nobody.
Whatever you said it's fake.
Nobody tried to kill Nobody tried to kill Dog. And Dog to get on TV and say, yeah, in his entire speech, yeah, my whole ear and it's off. And man, I don't want to hear none of that, man. Keep on talking about the subject at hand. How are you going to run this country?
But wait, G, have you ever been shot at?
Huh? No.
Have you been shot? So let me ask you.
I don't think I've been shot at.
Okay. Talana said that it's all about a plot to gain more supporters and his 3-ring circus. Okay. I see how y'all rolling. Y'all really think that was fake. And I promise you, in the case of this, I just don't believe that it was fake. That's just me. But let me just say this, so y'all can know. They shot Reagan. They popped him. They killed the man,
JFK,
on national TV. Yeah. Never forget, it is easier than what people realize.
Absolutely.
But now, I'm a believer of certain things. I'm gonna tell y'all this, people, so y'all will know this. When former Trump came to Detroit and he was at the church on Grand River and it's like almost like Ardmore.
Yeah.
The little church. Y'all, I went down there. I wanted to go check. I wanted to hear what he was saying. I wanted to see the people in the joint.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear what he had to say.
I know you did.
Some people want to say that, well, you shouldn't have went down there. Well, I did. Well, here's my problem with that, G, is that
I want to hear what Dog got to say.
Yeah, I got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's why we have 2 ears to hear both sides of the story. But that's not the point of the story. When I went, I'm telling you, people, I was the last person to get let into the church. I come up, Secret Service. Now it's no more. It's cut off. This is what he hit me with. Yeah. I said, come on, man, I'm the last person, man. You gotta let me in. Yeah. Are you the last one? And he let me in. Yeah. Now, I just went through a metal detector. I promise you at the time, I said personally, this is awful lax for presidential candidate and a former president. Yeah. It's awful lax. That's what I thought in my head at that time.
Yeah, and you over there by where the river rats used to hang out.
Yeah, this is the neighborhood. But when
Buck area.
Everybody over there. Everybody but I just thought it was lax. So I kind of thought that when it happened. Yeah. But still, it was next to a police station. So when you get to a rural area, and I was like, they said the kid was like 150 yards away. 150 yards away is not that far for a rifle. I can tell you that.
Oh, it ain't. Football field and a half.
Yeah. So anyway, but let me just add this though, seriously. When I start thinking about the groups, blue and red, it's the gang mentality, brother. Mm-hmm. Gang mentality. And here's the real issue of it all. I am so tired of our elders talking about this stupid, stinking presidential election. Now, listen, I'm sick and tired because, first of all, the 2024 election is already done. It's already set. Yeah. Whether you believe it or not, it's already set.
There you go.
Here's my question to anybody who's listening.
Yep.
Some people will be like, yeah, they talking about it. But you have not heard a consistent message from either side about the 435 House of Representative seats that are up and the 33 Senate seats that are up. These are the people that we should be paying attention to. These are the people who make the laws.
They're the power brokers.
So we keep on talking about, and for the last 50 years, every time I hear my mother talking about the presidential election, I don't hear any adults talking about the people that actually make the laws.
No question.
So now we have in this election, it kind of lined up this way, and because it typically don't line up this way, but you have 435 House seats available, 33 Senate seats.
Yep.
How much coverage have we had on those?
Not a lot.
Minimal. Yeah. So what does that tell you? They got you looking at the shiny object up here.
They got you looking over here, man.
Why these people they're gonna slide them in.
Look out the window and I'm gonna take a couple of your fries.
There you go. So then, because I'm trying to figure out, and I promise you, I don't know Hill Harper, but I wanted to know, well, how did Hill Harper get to Michigan? Now they said he bought a house and then he's running against Sloskin and all of these things. I'm like, I found out, you know how much money they put behind Hill Harper? 20 million.
Yep.
20 million.
Sure did.
So what I'm saying to you, we're doing the wrong things. We're teaching our kids wrong. And I'm stopping this. I'm no longer talking about this stinking presidential election. This is the heck with this.
Yeah.
We got to start talking about lawmakers and legislators. So what we've been taught when we were coming up, grandma would say, baby, you got to pray. And I'm not saying that you're not supposed to pray.
Yeah.
And then
suggesting that
you got to pray, march, and protest. People, please.
Done enough of that.
No. Well, see, first of all, it's misleading to think that marching, praying, and protesting changes laws in this country. Absolutely false. The only thing that changes laws in this country is lawmakers and legislators, period. So when you go out now, prayer, could it help? Because it can turn somebody's heart. I get that. But you still, the lawmakers, so we got to stop pushing our kids into this.
Well, we've been conditioned. You got to think about
I know. This is why I said I'm going to stop it.
And again,
that's why I said I'm going to stop it.
You and what has happened is this. They have conditioned us to believe a certain thing, and they know, all right, as long as I got them doing this, they're not a threat anyway. And you got to understand something. Historically, prior to us getting tricked, Black folks were Republican anyway.
Oh, what you talking about? People don't believe that. People be like, nah.
Well,
that was somebody told me this. They hit me with this. Man, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
Don't make a difference. We were that at once upon a time.
We was masculine men a long time ago too.
Yeah.
Look at us now.
So and I want to say this, and so I've been talking to the kids, and I said, the presidential election, that's cool, but that's not what the end goal is.
Because it's not a dictatorship anyway. So
it's exactly. No. The presidents don't make no laws, of course. Presidents, they can do some executive orders. We know that. But it's not too many that they typically do in terms of law.
Representative Congress. Man,
so we got to look at those things. So we got people, we got to look at our local. I'm going to give you an example. Nothing personal, but just say, here's an example. Our votes in terms of one man, one vote, it simply means that's a democracy.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to vote and you want to have impact, I think you should strategically start looking at local, state reps.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you an example. I don't know about you, G, but I'm gonna use Kim Worthy as an example. And I just looked this up today. Kim Worthy, under her tutelage, have convicted 34 guys, men. Well, she didn't actually do the conviction, but they create the paperwork.
Charges.
34 innocent men. 34 innocent men. But Kim Worthy gets a slate that's clean, just like anybody else. And nobody challenges that seat.
Of course not.
And I know, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the young fellow, Michael Jackson. I forgot his last name, but Michael Jackson, they said killed the young Jewish girl on the east side. When I saw the case, I told Lisa, I said, listen to me. Michael Jackson ain't more killed the lady than I killed JFK.
No question.
I said, listen to me, Michael Jackson was a car thief, but my point is, how did he even get to court? And that's my question, and my only point in making it of that story is we are allowing people in our community to just delay and wait and do whatever they like, and we do not.
Yeah, we give them a pass based on popularity.
We give them a pass.
Because we don't want to educate ourselves anyway.
Okay.
That was all said and done. We're not really trying to educate ourselves because that's going to really, really take some work. And it's going to take some introspection. Trying to do that.
And so Latanya just added something. She said that Hill Harper bought a house here several years ago that he didn't live in to establish residency, and bought a coffee shop to say he was an entrepreneur in Detroit. It's these are the type of tricks. My point is, and thank you for the comment, but for me, I look at all those things, it's all a game. So we got to change the game is my point of this end thing here. We got to change our kids' views. We got to stop preaching this president message and start talking about the lawmakers, the legislators, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and look at these people, examine their records, and this say for Michigan. So obviously we have different people. So Michigan has how many electoral votes? 15. 13 seats for those House of Representatives and 2 Senate seats, Stabenow and obviously Gary Peters. So what we got to do is say, hold on, wait. We got to hold them accountable. We got to look at their records.
They can't just keep getting.
They just can't keep waltzing through here,
Well,
man.
I think what has to happen though, really, is, and I understand how, and it's crazy. You got to understand how, from a historical standpoint, why the presidential election is so much. It's every 4 years.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
It's every 4 years. And you're talking about, when you mention OG, you're talking about people who remember when we got the right to vote.
Yeah.
So this is really a big thing to some people.
Yeah.
Because, hey, man, we can vote.
And then
Because they remember when we couldn't.
But then here's what they hit you with. Your ancestors died for you to right to vote. And I get that. Here's my answer to all the people that say that our ancestors died for our right to vote, but voting for the right people that's going to do right by us, not just to be voting jokers.
They also died for us to have the right to have some damn education, and all our children can't read.
There you go. No,
so listen. So I mean, I'm with it. I vote. I made sure my children got, when they turned 18, boom, go get it, take care of your business. But here's the thing, like you said, voting. I remember my mother and father sitting up the couple days before elections and going over everything.
See, you talk, man, you dreaming. Man, when was that? 1971?
75, 76.
Yeah. But so to the point, no.
So, why would that change though?
And see, because it's strategic. So this is my point. And I know you're saying we just preaching to the choir here to each other. But think about it, G, we got to change this strategy. We got to make our kids start to get in politics. Today, my lesson was my vote don't count. It's a video that I show the kids, but it's really like an oxymoron because the young fella raps and he says our vote does count. But he was talking about the vote doesn't count in the presidential election because of the electoral college, which is a whole nother debate, people. But if you do your history and your research on electoral college, you will see that, realistically speaking, when you vote, and his point of this in the story in this little rap was that you can vote in your state, and that's the popular vote. Yeah. But your state officials, who I'm talking about now, these 15 electoral votes that we have in the state that we send as our representatives of the state of Michigan, on the books, they do not, and I repeat, they do not have to vote according to the popular vote. So that's why he was saying what he was saying. And it's no laws that are on the books that says you have to. That's how Al Gore lost the 2000 election in Florida, because he won the popular vote in Florida and they gave it to Bush Jr. And then in 2016, Hillary won the popular vote throughout the country and Trump won. So that's what he's talking about. But I don't want you to get caught on that part of it. I want you to look at the big picture.
You're speaking of ultimately, we just got to continue to educate our people, and we got to educate.
That's what it is.
And that's on all levels. And as we're looking at it right now, we have to do that, and we have to get back to that, and we can't be too busy to do it.
No, we can't be too busy.
You know, there's been too many things that are taking precedence over the social education of our young people too. So you're talking about social, political education, all of that. This stuff is paramount right now. And if we don't make a change in 4 years, it's going to be a bad do.
But listen, it's going to be the exact same thing in 4 years.
That's what I'm talking about.
If we don't start. And so we maybe need to talk to people on school boards. We maybe need to go to these meetings and say, hold on. We have to start teaching civics from a lens of what is going to impact our children in our community immediately. I'm not saying that Trump or VP Harris can't make no laws and things are not going to affect us down the line. I'm not saying that. Right. But what I'm saying in the immediate. So they determine what you're going to get for your lunch and things of that nature. And the people that's making the laws, we got to do a better job of educating our people. G, go ahead. You got the last word. Close us out so we can get out of here.
Well, you mentioned the term educate. And I think at some point in time, if there has been no other time to educate our young people and to educate our families and to really get into this political process, it's now. So across the country, our young people are dying every day.
Every day.
Across the country. And when I say our people, I'm not talking about young people, no disrespect to them, in Lake Orion or Royal Oak. I'm talking about in every inner city, pretty much across this country.
Man.
Young brown and black people are dying. And they're dying at the hands of other young black and brown people. So now's the time to educate our families. Now's the time for our men and our women to unite as opposed to dividing. And I think there comes a point in time right now, and I'll say this publicly, we can't continue to be dinosaurs, Ralph. And I see a lot of men who hand everything over to the woman.
No, I ain't doing that, G.
I know. I wouldn't, trust me, I wouldn't be here right now. It'd be half of that logo would be totally different. I think for us, I listen to so many women say, well, his dad just told me I can handle it. And so the father said that, that's, and I had men tell me, well, no, I just handle the sports. And I'm thinking, and I said to myself now, and I've said to them, man, I'm a damn coach. I wish I would. So in essence, what you're saying, you're a dummy. And you can't educate your children socially, and you can't educate them on how they're supposed to conduct themselves, how they're supposed to move. I get it. We've told ourselves that, you know what, man, I just go to work. No. My social education started with my dad. And I tell you this, I thank God for that. And I thank God for the men in our village. I thank God for Ralph's dad and all the dudes around us. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, if y'all don't stand up and do something and be the men that y'all supposed to be, man, I don't care who the hell we vote for. We losing anyway. So y'all better wake the hell up, man.
And G, I know I said I was gonna give you the last word, but I want to add this too. Mm-hmm. And just going back to the families and how they're dividing us, because with this election, we always hear this is the most important election of our time. They've been saying this for so long. It's like people, like some people believe in global warming, and that's our lady in 1983 talking about global warming, and it was going, and Florida was going to sink down there because
1 years later.
No, I'm not trying to be funny. And people really believe in global warming. It's stupid. But anyway, my point in saying this, G, is that, and I got this from Apostle Smith. Mm-hmm. And Apostle Smith said it best. He said, fellas, I am not a Democrat or Republican.
Nor am I a Republican.
He said, I am a Biblican. And I said, Apostle Smith, I'm still in that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, how am I mad at G because he decides he want to vote for Donald Trump or vice versa or whatever? That's what we have a right to do. That's what a democracy is. Will we make the right decision every single time? Absolutely not. But I don't think that our family should be ridiculed. And I don't think that you should have distance placed in between you and your family member because of somebody's views. Yeah. That is absolutely gang mentality. Yeah. Yep. And all because I got a different view and I want to see and listen to something different. We got to wake up, people, because without no unity, we're going to lose anyway. And I can tell y'all this, whomever is in office, if it's me and G, y'all straight. I can tell y'all, we good. If it's me and G, y'all good. But if it's somebody else in office in 2024, pretty much nothing ain't going to change.
Ain't going to change a whole lot.
It ain't going to change a whole lot. It ain't going to
change a whole lot, no way.
It's crazy that we getting into these things.
How is our condition changed? I'm 53. I'll be 54 in a few weeks. My man already 54. How is our condition changed realistically in these 54 years?
So here's what people will say. I had some elders say this to me. A lot has changed. We got better jobs and so on and so forth. We could do this, we could do that. I said, but here's my issue with that. You could have better jobs, but if inflation's still going up, you pretty much in the same location. You're still in the same, and this, I'm like, yo, this stuff what you're saying and what y'all are saying it's like, yo, this is craziness to me. And so again, we got to just change our way of teaching young people. We have to get young people to the people that are absolutely having an impact on their everyday lives. Because, and like for real, we'll be lucky we're here in another 40 years. You got to think. In 40 years, somebody else going to own this house.
Yeah.
And 40, you hopefully that you still around.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, we got to look at it from the lens of we got to do something for our immediate. And that's those lawmakers and those legislators in our state that are going to represent us in the presidential election. But we're not going to worry about that. We're going to worry about right now the 435 seats and the 33 Senate seats. And then if we don't like who we vote in the midterm in 2026, we on their head. We going to get them out of here. And then listen, I will do some research and come back with everybody in the state of Michigan's they voting record. How they vote. And that's how you do it. Man, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Keep coming and watching State Champions Podcast. Make sure you tell a friend. I know they was down at Shane Park tonight doing their thing.
Watch the show tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, watch it in the morning.
I had too many them blue boys. Watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, them blue boys get you out of here. Peace. We out of here.
The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here. The champ is here.
Steve Martin.